Hey guys, this is Richard. I was finding that there were a few questions on how different um, churches do their Bible verses. When I first started with Vmix, or at least we as church started with Vmix, I didn't know a whole lot about it, um, and was creating inputs for every uh, a verse, or at least multiple verses, and it was kind of cumbersome, and didn't really flow well, and I kind of lost track quite easily, and there was a lot of human error in copyright, or not copyright, copy and paste, and didn't paste the right verses or the specified Bible uh, version. Anyway, come to find out that vmix can do data sources. So with a data source, you specify a data source or a database, if you will. It can be a file, it can be multiple files, XML, Excel, CSV, and etc. With that, and you can go to pretty much any title or anything, um, mostly titles, um, and you can inject that data into titles, and it can automatically update those titles with the information, um, if the software allows, or if the XML or Excel or whatever you're using for the data source allows real-time update, such as Excel just saving, you can Control S, or anyway. I found out there was a piece of software called Bible Show on the interwebs. Um, I'm not 100% sure how this is free, because I know that you have to pay for different versions of the Bibles, like NASB and New King James Version, I believe, and others because of copyright. Um, anyway, I've heard multiple other people use Bible Show, but I didn't really see any how-to videos on implementing it into Vmix. Um, anyway, so I looked at Bible Show and found out it can output to XML. It has this Vmix logo here just so that I think the programmer just talked with Vmix and they were like, hey, you can do this, and cool, let's put our logo on in your program. Anyway, um, what that will do, it will create a XML. So when you go through all the different verses in the browser, it will automatically update the XML file in real time with all of the strings. So it has reference Titus 2:9, which we're in now, Titus 2:9, and then I appended the NASB because that's, I guess, you're supposed to at least put what version of Bible you're reading from, and then it spits out scripture, image path if there is an image. I believe that is kind of tied with the standard output of the display window, and I can show you that. That would be like this, and I believe that would just spit out this background. Gives you the book name, book title, book abbreviation, chapter number, verse number, and so on. With that, we have that listed as an XML. So what we can go into Vmix, I'm actually going to create a new input. So, well, after I create an XML data source. So, I already created one, so I will just mostly create a new one, but not really. Let's go to add XML. Actually, I'm going to create one anyway. You can name it. Let's do Bible Show. Let's just create one, actually. Bible show. Let's go browse. Let's go to this PC, C drive, Bible show. It's going to be under outputs and then data source 1. And then the X path will be / Bible show 5. Let's just double check that. What this will do, what this is the title of the section within the XML. So it's actually Bible show data. So we can just copy this, paste it, go to home, and then inject the /. So what that will do is it defines Vmix to post anything that is within this portion of the XML file. Go to create, and then you'll see here it posts everything out: time code, reference, scripture, image path, all of this good stuff. So, and then what you can do is you can change the update data every whatever milliseconds. I find that every 1 second is good enough. That way, I found out that even if I had maybe 500 milliseconds, which is half a second, I found out that the lag between the Bible show click to the next entry to when it actually updates the XML, it's pretty much the same as 1 second. So I just set it to 1000 milliseconds, which is the same with 1 second. So when we're done with that, let's just minimize this, create a new input. Let's go to title, GT title, just for, let's do that. And then let's just do what I had before. I created my own Bible background, injected a image and such, but let's just create, if you don't know how to do that, let's just go to a predefined title, click OK, and then you'll see there is different objects. So the image will be your image on the right here. Your verse will be right here. Then your message, well, let's do that. Back here. Image is going to be this guy. And also, if you don't inject an image, this will actually say your image 280 by 280 px on the live stream. So if you don't have an image, at least create something for like maybe like a clear background or something. Then for each object that you want the data to come from a data source, you have to go to each object and then go to data source. And then select your data source. Let's do Bible show. Table is just XML. Column, it can do auto, but if we do auto, it's just going to be the time code, which we don't want. We want it to be the scripture. And then select scripture. Row is just going to be selected. I believe this is with different CSVs, or particularly with Excel, I believe. I have never played with Excel with the data source injection, so anyway. And then format, I believe this is just a generic lookup table reference for how XML works. Others might know more about that. And then this is your preview. So within that, you'll see this has the scripture now. So now we need to go to verse, go back to data source again, select Bible show, and then go to reference. So reference will be your verse number. Or if you want to change this to something else, you can, like book name. I mean, it doesn't have to be reference, but that's how we have it set up. So let's go back to reference. And there we go. And then we can go to image. Oops. browse. Let's just do something. Let's just put this in here, even though it's not gonna. There we go. And there is your lower thirds. And let me go to my Stream Deck and turn on the Bible verse. Oops, that's not it. Let's number 2. There we go. There's that. And it's the same thing as what we have here. It does exactly the same. It's just a different background. I created my own background and did that through GT title. One other thing you can do is with Bible Show is you can create multiple instances. With multiple instances, you can actually have different types of data being referenced differently. So in this case, I have a reference here. Let's do number 2. Just so you guys can see it. That is not the actual title I use. I just changed it from the last time I tried to record this. But you'll note that it does not have the reference NASB here. Well, how did I do that? And update it in real time is the other title. Well, with a different instance, which you'll note here that this is number 1. If you click on this plus, it will create a new instance. And I can't remember if by default, if it automatically links the 2 instances together, but if you check this link here, you'll see it starts blinking red. This instance number 2 will link to instance number 1, and pretty much anything you do in instance number 1 will be updated instance number 2. So if we go to, let's just say Daniel 5:12, you'll see it updated. What the heck? Play? That was weird. Oh, yes, that's another thing. When you go to a different book within the Bible, it will actually freeze it. That way, when you do go to play, it doesn't update the XML and the monitor. I guess at this time it did. Anyway, you'll see here, this is Jeremiah 23:24. This is Jeremiah 23:24. And within here, without the reference of the NSB here, I can show you how to do that. I just went to configure. I kind of had to play around with this and figure out how this kind of worked. There is, I believe, guides on their website. But I had to go to aspect, reference aspect, and then I believe this is unchecked by default, but I have it checked on the first instance. But append Bible version acronym. So if you go to the first one, aspect, and then this is checked. So if you uncheck it, you'll see this is no longer there. But if you check it, it does append. And then you'll see down here, it's kind of small. It'll unpend it and append. So that's how we at least do Bible verses in the lower thirds on our church streaming. So hopefully that helps. Thanks.